Today we're going to be talking about and going over how to perform a comprehensive inspection of the large property. We're going to be doing a roof inspection and an inspection of the interior. All right, so let's get started. When arriving at the property, you want to be considerate as to where you park your vehicle. Do not want to park in the driveway. Do not want to block the driveway. You do not want to park on the grass or landscaping of the insured. And you definitely do not want to block the fire hydrant. Let's talk about the dress code. As an insurance professional, you want to dress for success. You want to always wear a shirt with a collar. We recommend water wicking shirts, no open-toe shoes, no jeans, no denims, no political or sport affiliated or religious branding on your clothing, and try to make sure you wear the appropriate shoes for climbing roofs, which are cougar paws, or similar shoes that have treads. That's good enough to keep you from falling off the roof. If you choose cougar paws, they do offer a boot covering called booties. Well, at least that's what I call them. That's available on their website. Now we want to talk about photo documentation and its order. We're going to talk about the order that your photos should be in. The very first photo that we want you to take is going to be a photo of your loss address. That photo is going to include the address of the loss location with your ID card or business card that has your license number on it. In the state of Florida, it is not required. Second photo that we will be taking is going to be the front elevation. You want to make sure in this photo, that in every elevation photo actually, that you're able to get from corner to corner on your photo as best as possible. And before you even speak to the insured, you want to make sure you take these 2 photos just in case the insured declines you taking any additional photos of the lost property. Here's an example of the conversation that you can have or similar with the insured. Hello, my name is Ashley Severe. I'm the insurance adjuster. We spoke on the phone in regards to our inspection today. So what I would like to do today, I would like to be able to go around and inspect the outside of the home, the exterior, and take some photo documentations of the exterior. Do I have full access to your property? Are there any locked fences on the property? Do you have any pets on the property that I need to be aware of? If so, can you please bring your pets inside or put them away in a cage? Thank you. And after I'm done inspecting the perimeter of the home, I'm going to climb the roof and I'm going to inspect your roof and take some photo documentations of the roof. When I'm done, I will come down and I'll knock on your door and we can inspect the inside of your home. You can show me where the areas that were affected by the storm. All right, great. I'll see you soon. When you inquire about their pets, please be as courteous as possible. Now, during our inspection, you want to constantly be scanning for damages. You want to start after you've taken a photo of the elevation. You want to approach that elevation and actively scan for damages. You want to start at the top from the gutters, the fascia, soffit, windows, doors, walls, and siding. You want to make sure that you check if there's any exterior lightings, like coach lighting that may be on the side of the garage door, or post lighting that's out in the yard. You want to make sure you inspect those for damages. You want to pay attention to the garage door for damages as well, since it's a huge door. A lot of times it may be hit by debris or hail. As you inspect the elevations, if there's any equipment on the lost property, such as air conditionings, condenser units, you want to make sure you photograph the condenser unit and their labels, along with any other equipment. Photo you want to take is your rear photo, and a lot of times when you go to the rear, there are underwriting concerns that you want to make note of. If there's a trampoline on the lost property, make sure that you take a photo of the trampoline and make note of that in your report. That may be an underwriting referral. And the reason for that is that trampolines come with liability because the possibility of the insured or their children or the neighbors or a visitor getting hurt from a trampoline. That increases the risk on the property. As you photo document the property, you want to make sure that you document any abnormalities. In this photo here, you see there's a door is patio door or family room door is boarded up. You want to make sure you document that as well. So you're looking for storm created damage, and you're also looking for damage that's existing or pre-existing. You want to make sure you document it. The fifth photo that we want to be taking is going to be the left elevation. Again, if there's any other equipment on the property, make sure that you take it at this time. And when you get back to your desk, you just reorganize your photos. Make sure your photo order follows the order that's stated in this video. And you'll just move around the equipment photos and damage photos. Now we want to talk about setting up your ladder. Prior to setting up your ladder to be able to climb the roof, you want to pay attention to the slope that you decide to pick. Make sure that there are no power masses or power cords coming from the power pole to the home on the slope that you choose. If there is the existence of a power pole line coming into the house, please choose another slope. Just stay off that elevation and that slope completely when it comes to setting up your ladder. You want to make sure that your ladder is set up 3 feet above the roof line. And then we're going to take photo number 6, your ladder access. Now, before we go any further, we want to talk about the importance of ladder safety. We're going to be covering a couple things here. One thing you want to be sure is that you do not learn ladder safety on the fly. The most dangerous part of climbing a roof for a roof inspection will be at the top of the ladder, where you go to get off the ladder and mount onto the roof, and also when you go to get back on your ladder to be able to climb down from the roof. This is where most accidents happen in climbing the roof. So you want to make sure that you set up your ladder in a way that is safe and will provide the right amount of safety for you to be able to climb up the roof and be able to come down from climbing the roof. Let's talk about the 7 points of safety when climbing a ladder. Number 1, you want to make sure, as stated earlier, you want to extend the ladder 3 feet above the surface. And you want to make sure that there is a rung that's either even with the roof plane or just below the roof plane. Never get off of a ladder or step on a rung that's above the roof plane. That changes the entire pendulum of that ladder and will cause that ladder to kick out from underneath you. So be careful when you're mounting the roof. Do not step on a rung that is above the roof plane. Number 2, tie off your ladder at the top when possible. You may want to use a ladder lock, especially if it's attached, if you're climbing and the ladder is resting on a gutter, or use a little ladder helper. Step number 3, 3-point contact at all times when climbing the ladder. You want to always make sure that you have 3 points of contact when climbing the ladder. Number 4, never use a ladder if it has a broken rung or if the ladder is damaged in any way. Number 5, to make sure that you achieve the proper angle for climbing the ladder, you want to use the 4-to-1 ratio. For every 4 feet in height from the ground to the soffit of the roof, you want to put the ladder 1 foot back from the actual structure. Number 6, secure your ladder at the bottom. As much as possible, you want to make sure when setting up your ladder that you set up your ladder either in grass, dirt, or mulch. As much as possible, try to stay away from setting up your ladder on concrete, brick, or wood decking. You want to make sure that the bottom of your ladder is secure. When setting up on concrete, brick, or wood decking, it has a higher possibility for your ladder to be able to move when climbing up a roof. If you have to set it up on concrete, brick, or wood decking, try to set it up in a way that the bottom is secure, whether using a brace or something to secure your ladder at the bottom. And number 7, never carry tools or materials while climbing the ladder. Okay, always make sure you have a tool belt where you can secure all your tools that you're going to be needed to perform your inspection, or a clipboard. Try to see if you can attach your clipboard to your tool belt. Always make sure that your hands are free. And of course, as stated before, earlier in this video, you want to make sure that you do have the proper shoes for climbing the roof. We highly recommend wearing cougar paws. They have a tread at the bottom or a sole at the bottom of the boot that increases your ability to adhere to the roof while climbing. The next photo that we want to take now is a photo of the drip edge and gutter profile. That would be photo number 7. And at this point of the roof, you can knock out 2 photos in one setting. You can also take photo number 8, which is going to be your pitch gauge. Remember, never step on a rung that's just above the roof plane. This plane where I'm standing on, this rung is just about right. Let's start inspecting the roof now. I like to start on the very front slope of the roof when I'm doing my inspection. As I walk, I'm only inspecting sections at a time. I like to inspect about 4 to 6 feet in front of me, 3 feet to the right, 3 feet to the left. And I'm only focusing on this area of my inspection. So I'm going to start at the bottom and avoiding walking within 2 feet of the edge of the roof, because in this area there's no structural support for the roof. And I just walk and I'm just going to scan and just focus on that 4 to 6 feet in front of me. And as I find roof damage, I'm going to go ahead and mark my damage here. I want to explain the situation here with this laminated roof shingle. This roof shingle here is considered to be damaged because of the flap that's loose, and as it was lifted by the wind, it created a crease, a visible crease on the flap. Now, loose shingles in and by themselves are not considered wind damage. When the wind takes that loose shingle, or in this case, the loose tab that's on top of the laminated shingle, lifts it and causes a visible crease, now that is considered wind damage to the shingle, because this tab is a part of the shingle as a whole, and this is considered damage. And so therefore, when there is a crease in the shingle, we want to go ahead and mark it with a line going across as wind damage. And obviously the same case would be for a 3-tap shingle as well. And just to repeat the statement that I just made, loose shingles in and of themselves are not considered to be wind damage. But when the wind takes that loose shingle, flaps it in the wind, and creates a visible crease, that constitutes wind damage. And we continue the same process as we inspect the entire roof. Actively scanning for damages. We want to be careful to inspect one slope at a time. After inspecting the one slope, we want to keep a running number in our heads or count the shingles before going to the next slope and making sure that we documented how many shingles we found damaged on that particular slope. And the way that we're going to document it, we're going to go to the very top of the slope, count the damages, and we're going to go ahead and write a marking at the top of the slope, and we're going to ID the slope. We're going to mark what type of damages observed on that slope, and we're going to write down how many damaged shingles or tiles that we find on these slopes. Here are some slope IDs that we can use. FS for front slope, RS for right slope, RR for rear slope, LS for left slope, LFS if you have a 2-story home and there's actually 2 levels to the roof. LFS will stand for lower front slope, LRS lower right slope, LRR lower rear slope, and LLS lower left slope. And we will continue the same process as we go to each slope. Here are some additional peril identifications and their peril. W for wind, H for hail, M for mechanical, C for contractor consideration, and P for nail pop. The last 3 is not necessarily a peril, but if you want to document how many mechanical shingles that you have found on the roof, or how many shingles that you want to send up for consideration. Let's say, for example, if the contractor marked up the roof and you do not agree with their marking, you want to make sure you document the markings that the contractor as well marked, so that you can provide that for a desk adjuster or fire reviewer to be able to see what it was that they were looking at. This is good for documentation purposes and for comparisons of the damages noted on the roof. In addition, if the roof has been inspected by a prior roofer or contractor and they marked the roof, try to use a different colored chalk than previously used. That way we'll be able to differentiate between the markings, who marked which damage, and the additional marking of yours and the contractor on the same damaged area confirms that you both agree with the damages. I highly encourage you to be able to give a comprehensive roof inspection. You want to get a system in place and systematically inspect the roof. One additional pointer when inspecting this roof: never walk backwards on a roof. Always position yourselves when inspecting a shingle or even marking a shingle that you are not walking backward. There have been many an adjuster experience, and non-experienced that have literally walked off of a roof. So here we got a picture of a mechanically damaged shingle. Either it was damaged when it was installed, or it can be a manufacturer damaged shingle. So we're going to put down M for manufacturer. Now, there are times when inspecting a shingle roof, you're going to notice that you have multiple shingles right next to each other that are damaged. In the case of a laminated shingle, you notice that the damages that we're looking at here is bigger than 4 feet, bigger than even 3 feet. Whenever you have this case, you may very well consider that is more than one shingle that is damaged. You try not to mark the same shingle within 3 feet of the previous shingle that you marked. Reasoning for this is that shingles are typically 3 feet wide. So if you were to mark one shingle and there's another shingle immediately next to it, you may not want to mark it as damaged. But if it's 3 feet away from the previously marked shingle, you can be sure that that is an additional damaged shingle. So you count that as more than one shingle that's damaged. Let's talk about the soft metals counts. We want to document the amount of assemblies that are on a roof, such as your roof vents. We're going to go down the list of the different soft metals that you will find on a metal roof. I will show you some examples of each soft metal, such as the pipe jack, off ridge vent, exhaust vent, often mistaken for turtle box vents. In this diagram, you have turtle box vents, turbines, ridge vents, metal ridge vents, and you have a powered roof vent. Here's a picture of a hot water solar hot water assembly. Here's a picture of a chimney that has step flashing. Here's a picture of a solar panel, solar water heater panel, satellite, antenna, and your valley metal. Here's your ice and water shield you use as an alternative to valley metal. Now, after we have completed our inspection, we want to go ahead and do some additional testing of the shingle to confirm its age and repairability. The first one we're going to use here is going to be your shingle gauge. On the shingle gauge, there's different markings on the shingle gauge that indicates what type of shingle gauge that we're using, and also tells us what type of material that we're measuring. The first shingle gauge I want to talk about is the 409 shingle gauge that's used on roofs that were installed prior to 2011. The second shingle gauge is a 01/12, which is a shingle gauge used on roofs that were installed after the year 2011. First of all, we want to identify the slope that we found damages on the slope. Do not do this test on a non-damaged roof, but you want to identify the slope that you have the damages on. You want to go ahead and lift the shingle so that you can slide the shingle in between the gauge itself. Photo number 9, the shingle gauge. Now I want to talk about taking a repairability test on the shingle. We're going to go over the process of how to do a brittle test. When performing a brittle test, you want to make sure that you're performing the brittle test on a slope that has been identified as damaged. Preferably, you want to use the slope that's damaged the most. You do not perform this test on a roof that is considered a hail claim. All right, do not perform brittle tests on roofs that are called in as hail claims. You do this only for wind damaged roofs. Preferably, you want to use the same shingle that you have used for your shingle gauge test. And we're going to do a process here. We're going to mark the shingle, number 1, and we want to go ahead and take a photo because this test is a 3-step process. We want to go ahead and lift the shingle now, and you want to lift it in the same way that the shingle would be repaired or replaced by a professional roofer, meaning lifting the shingle that would allow you to be able to nail a new shingle in its place. And that's going to be more than a 45-degree angle. And it has to be lifted this way because when they're performing a repair on this roof, they have to be able to nail the repaired shingle using a hammer, meaning the above shingle would have to be cleared to be able to nail a new shingle to the roof. And you're going to mark it, number 2, and take your photo. Should be the second photo on your brittle test. If in the process that there is a crease that appears on the shingle that was lifted, you're going to mark it number 3, and you're going to write the words failed. And you're going to take your third photo of the brittleness test. And you're going to take photos of the crease that has been developed due to the test. This roof is considered non-repairable, therefore you're going to have to replace the entire slope. Please keep in mind that the guidelines for repairing a slope will differ depending on the insurance carrier, depending on the state that the loss location is in, and depending on the guidelines from your IA firm. This is very important, so I would like to repeat the statement made when performing a repairability test. First of all, you want to make sure that you choose a slope that has already been deemed as damaged. And you want to make sure that you confirm with your carrier, IA firm, and or your manager from the IA firm that you are allowed to take a repairability test. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and photo document all the markings that we made on the roof. The first photo that we want to take when we begin this process, we want to go to the top of the roof slope and take a photo of the slope ID that we marked up, which was we ID'd what slope we were on. That shows the type of peril, which in this case W for wind, and the amount of damaged shingles. Then on the same slope, we want to go ahead and take overviews of that slope. After we've taken the overviews of those slopes, we want to go ahead, proceed, and take close-up of the damaged shingles. I try not to take more than 10 photos of damaged shingles on any particular slope Even if there's more damage, let's say if there's 20 damaged shingles, I just take a photo of 10, which is a good representation of how much damage you have on that slope. And you proceed with the same system to the next slope. You ID the slope, take a photo of the slope ID, and then you take overviews, and then you will document close-ups of the damage. You want to be able to show the file reviewer or desk adjuster a close-up picture of the damaged material on the roof. With your photos, you literally want to take the file reviewer and or desk adjuster on a virtual tour of that roof. You want to be able to allow them to walk the entire lost property using your photos. You want to tell the story of your inspection with the photos that you have taken. You want to be able to take them on a virtual tour. And we continue the process on the remaining slopes. Do not be shy in taking photos, because when you get back to your computer, you can always delete the photos that you do not need. All right. However, we cannot fabricate photos that we do need. So always be sure to take a lot of photos. Once we are completed with our roof inspection, always be careful when making your way down the ladder, because this is the moment when we're after inspecting in the heat of the day, we're always going to be in a hurry to get off this roof. So make sure that you take every safety precaution necessary to descend from the roof. Now, once our roof inspection is completed, we have photo documented the roof. We want to therefore proceed to take photos of the interior of the home. Now, when we get back to our desk, the photo order that we're going to be looking at after our roof inspection photos, we want to go ahead and insert our exterior photos showing the damages that we found on the exterior of the property. And after the exterior photos, we want to include our interior damage photos. And our interior damage photos want to include overviews of the different rooms that we inspect. If there are damages inside those rooms, we're going to take additional overview photos and photos close up of the damages. And after our interior photos, we're going to go ahead and insert photos of the equipments and the labels of those equipments after our interior photo. Our equipments will include air conditioning condenser units, pool pumps, water sprinkler pumps, and then we're going to go ahead and include the photos of our APS structures such as sheds, screen enclosures, and fences. So now let's take a quick review of the photo labels and their orders that we want to place our photos in. Number 1 will be the loss address. Photos number 2 through 5 will be our elevations. Photo number 6 will be your ladder access. Photo number 7 will be your drip edge. Photo number 8 will be your pitch gauge. Photo number 9, your shingle gauge. Photo number 10, which will be a 3-step process of your brittle test. Photos 11 and forward would be the roof damage documentation photos. And after your roof photos, you will be taking and inserting your elevation photos with their damages. And after your elevation photos, you're going to have your interior photos. and their damages if damages are found on the lost property. Then after your interior photos, you will have your equipments and their tags. And finally, after your equipment and your tags photos, you're going to include your APS structures. That's going to be your appurtenant structures. And the reason why you're going to inspect your appurtenant structures, because you want to inspect every area of that lost property that could have been affected by that peril. If you have a wind claim, you want to inspect every structure on the property that could have been affected by that wind or hail, which includes your shed, screen enclosures, your fences. If they have personal property out in the yard, you want to make sure that you photograph damages to that personal property. And this concludes our comprehensive inspection of the exterior elevations and the roof on your lost property.